right, guys, welcome to the show. We're sitting down with Evo Shield Canes coach Cody Wheeler. Cody, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Coming on. You want to give the viewers a little background about your baseball background and your coaching experience and what you do now for the Canes?
Yeah, absolutely. So I went to high school locally here in Virginia, Spotsy High School. Graduated in 2007. Played baseball at Coastal Carolina for 3 years. Great 3 years. Would love to go back and do it again at some point. And then I got drafted in the 5th round by the Diamondbacks in 2010. I played 5 seasons for them, making it to AA. Got released in 15 and then picked up by Baltimore in 15 and made it to AAA with them, and then played a year of indie ball. Kind of transferring over from the inside the lines to outside the lines. Jeff hired me, I think, in 2017, I believe. And this is my second full year as director of player development for all of our regional programs, which include teams from Virginia, North Carolina, and South Carolina. I think we have 27 regional teams, as well as some. I think we are at 9 or 8 national and American teams from 24s to 22s. So yeah, it's been kind of a wild ride going from, being all about what's happening in the games and kind of keeping the body right and all that, to kind of transitioning to a little bit more of the business player development side.
And I would say the Canes are, if not the top tier program in the country. I know there's a lot of great organizations out there that you guys compete against, but when kids come to play for you, no matter what level it is or what team they sign on to play with, like, what does that represent to them, and what do you want them to understand when you commit to playing with us at any period of time, like wearing that black and gold and wearing that C? What does that mean to those kids and to you guys?
Right. I think first off, I think it starts with us and what we expect. At a certain level of professionalism, and that's from how you carry yourself to how you go about your business, to your preparation, and to your coachability. Now, obviously, it's kind of you run into different scenarios throughout, seasons from spring to or summer to fall, back around to summer to fall, to where you bring kids on, and sometimes it's not the best fit. But we tend to try to find people who not only are good at their craft, but they want to learn. Right. So maybe we give a kid a chance who's like, we have a conversation with them at a tryout, and the conversation goes well. His verbiage is good. He's engaged. He's listening and stuff like that. Because you have conversations with kids, and you can tell when they're paying attention to you or when they're like looking through you, just another guy, spouting some stuff at me. So I think from our standpoint, I think that's where it lies the most. From the player standpoint, I think what we have built here over the past, 17 years, I think it's going on now, is just quality coaching and instruction. Coaches that care about the game and care about developing players, from, all the way down at the bottom to, our national 22 team. And that obviously starts with our owner, Jeff Petty, who has been hugely instrumental in my life, from playing on his first team in 2005 to, kind of coming full circle. He helped me out with a few deals in between my transition from Arizona to Baltimore. He's just good people, and he surrounds himself with more of the same.
Do you ever see, like, when a kid shows up to a tryout or an event and you have that conversation, and when you say, like, we invite some kids to play, they might come and it might just not work out. Does it not work out because they're not the player you thought, or the player thought the experience was going to be a lot different? Like, do you get a lot of kids that shy away from, this sounds like a great opportunity, but once I'm there and I'm surrounded by other great talent and I'm not the guy, does that shy some kids away? And is that like a telling sign of, well, then you're not ready to compete at the next level? Because when you get to that level, no matter what level it is, every guy was the guy from where they're coming from.
Right.
And you're not getting the attention offensively or defensively. You're not always getting the praise, and you're really being challenged. And kids shy away from that competition because they know if they don't perform, I have someone else that I can defer to.
Right. And I think that is a little bit of the case. I think some of the times it's the previous, and maybe he just didn't have a good summer. We'll bring him back for a tryout in the fall and see if, we'll send him home with some things to work on for that off month in August, when everybody's off, and see if he can make some adjustments. Um, but I think for the most part, it's probably the latter. It's kids that show up and they're like, man, like all these kids are pretty much as good as me, as like you referenced before, going back to their high school team. you know Everybody's looking at them because they are the only one, or they are the one of two, of solid players on a team. So we do run into that a little bit, to where, and that's kind of that's a box we can check, as far as, okay, is this kid ready to dive in? Because regardless of what he's doing now, right, it could be really irrelevant. But if his intent is to move on to the next level, right, this needs to be learned now. Because like you said, once you get there, you get to the college level, and as an incoming freshman, unless you're just some highly touted number one in the country at your position type of deal, there's going to probably be about 75% of the roster that's better than you, just because they have more experience, they have more time getting bigger, stronger, faster on a college program, and you're not going to be the guy. You go from up here at the top of the totem pole, and if you're lucky, you're on the bottom. Sometimes you're not even on the totem pole yet. So it's understanding that, and trying to realize, is there a way that I can get this through to him, for him to understand, like, if you want to continue, this is how it's going to be every step of the way. You're going to do it in college, and let's say you play 3 years and get drafted. Well, guess what? It's going to happen all over again when you get to pro ball. And it's even worse there, because, like you said before, it kind of goes from a team sport to where you have that collective to lean on, to where the only person you can lean on is you.
And I mean, we've talked about this in previous shows. Um, I would say, like, going off of what you said, what you guys pride yourself on and what makes your talent and organization stand out above the rest is you bring in guys that have a strong baseball background. They care about the game. They care about player development and getting these kids where they want to go, and teaching through experience. But I think where some kids lack in the transition, and I know I did, was in high school, you're used to everyone's going to get BP. And when you transition into college, I don't have time to throw batting practice to every single person. So I'm throwing to the guys that are starting that day, and I'm throwing to the guys that I foresee might get into the game that day. And at practice, like, I'm going to still focus on those guys. And if you want extra reps, that's on you to find those reps. And I only have X amount of minutes in a week to execute what I need to execute. So I'm going to focus on the guys that I know that are probably going to play that Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I think a lot of kids have that tough transition into finding how to coach themselves and help themselves, because someone's always been there to help them or assist them. And when we've talked to Travis Buck, he said when he went to Boise State, he would get frustrated because after every single rep or drill, his kids would look at him like, are you going to praise me? Are you going to instruct me? And he's like, what, why do you keep looking over here? Like, what do you want me to tell you?
Right.
So those guys that transition from high school to college and then college to pro, is it that tough growing pain and that mindset to understand, like, people aren't going to put in a lot of time with you and you got to go help yourself, and understanding how to help yourself? Do you think your organization helps set those kids apart already because they're already getting that type of instruction to where I'm still developing you, but I want you to understand the game. I want you to think for yourself so you're not helpless while it's going on.
Right. No, I think that's probably one of our strong suits, as far as kind of using the showcase realm of the summer and the fall to kind of prep them for those early stages in either college or pro ball. I think it's big that we put the emphasis on the players. We bring as much knowledge to the table as we possibly can, in person. But the fact of the matter is that I'm going to see you Friday, maybe Friday night, Saturday all day, and then a little bit Sunday morning. And then I'm not going to see you for 5 days. So through that 3 day period, I will have a chance to maybe run through some of your deficiencies, maybe talk about some things that I'm seeing, maybe some questions you have for me. But it's up to you those 4 days to make sure you're taking the knowledge or the information that I'm giving you or another coach is giving you and to really implement that into your workouts throughout the week. And like you referenced, that is a big part of college baseball in the early stages. Now, if you're the Friday night starter, you're going to get some attention your sophomore and junior year and your senior year if you play 4 years. But if you're that guy who's trying to wiggle his way in and you play second base and you hit for average guy and you're just kind of a little bit more run of the mill type of deal, you're going to have to find those ways to get it yourself because at the end of the day, like you said, well, we got BP at 4, the game's at 6, we got a bunch of other stuff to do. I'm throwing to maybe 11 guys, and I think a lot of the kids tend to struggle and tend to recruit, so to speak, because they're not the ones that are always getting that attention like they're used to. They go back to their high school days, and he was number one. He got all of our attention. He got the swings. He got the ground balls. Um, so I think it's a scenario to where we try to mold them for that and really put the emphasis on them. Hey, listen, like I can show you the door. I can even open it for you, but I can't make you walk through it. That's got to be something you do on your own. And that is how we kind of separate kids a little bit. Okay, well, I'm giving everybody the same information. I'm giving Johnny the same as I'm giving Jimmy. There might be different things, but I'm giving them the same thing. And now whoever takes it and runs with it, that's the kid that we say, okay, he's invested. We're going to invest back. And it doesn't mean we just throw, Johnny up by the wayside, but I'm going to try one more time, and then I might try a third time. And if he doesn't do it, I've got, you know, right around, 300 kids, and it's like, sometimes you got to get picky and choosy when you get to that point. So, I mean, we're in the business of developing players and moving them on to the next level. And if you're not going to show us that you can have that drive to take our information and take it yourself and run with it, we're going to move on, so to speak.
And I think too, like when I talk to a lot of high school players or parents that think they get so caught up in the recruitment process and selecting a school that they don't realize that the world they're stepping into is that coaching staff, that's their livelihood. If that's the head coach, I'm getting paid to win, not being paid to stroke egos or make sure you're having a great day. And as tough as that sounds, I think that's like a tough pill to swallow is I'm going to play the guys that give me the best opportunity to keep my job and to keep funding coming into the program. And if I don't win, there's no funding. If I don't win, I'm on the outside looking for another coaching position someplace else. So I think a lot of kids and families have a tough time understanding that piece to where when I'm not playing, it's, well, why am I not playing? Well, I don't feel you're ready to play yet in this element, and I need you to develop. And again, they don't understand at this point. Now it's becoming more of a job and not just I'm playing baseball for fun. And you're messing around with someone else's livelihood. So going off of that, how do you guys breed the mindset and the culture of, even though this is showcase baseball, even though it's summer, fall ball, when you guys go into a tournament, specifically a national tournament, your intent is to win. You want to be there in that championship game or at least showcase a great product. How do you get your guys, when you're bringing all those guys in, to buy into that team mindset of baseball and break away from kind of like the summer mindset of I'm going to swing out of my shoes every pitch. If I'm pitching, I'm going to try to throw as hard as I can to light up the gun and really buy into a team concept to get the end result that you guys want.
Right, right. I mean, if I'm being completely honest, it can be difficult at times. You go to tryouts and you're selecting these kids, and some of the kids maybe are returners, and you're just trying to watch them develop and see what they've done over the past couple of months. And some are fresh faces that, you kind of just have to take a gamble on. He showcased well, his numbers are great, but what type of kid is he? You talk to him for 5 minutes, you're running a tryout of 70 kids that takes 3 hours. You don't have a chance to sit there and ask 21 questions to each kid that pops up and showcases his stuff. So to that fact, I think it is a big deal for people to understand, like you said, it's not about it's not about individual. Okay, can I bring you in and can I make you the best player possible? Right? That is the end goal, obviously, but it's not going to come from him. It might come from him for, let's just call the fall, 2 months of practices and inter squads and whatnot. You might get 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks of his attention, but then the rest is going to be on you to make sure you're doing the little TikTok things that make sure, okay, I'm getting here, I'm doing this, I'm making sure I'm getting my arm strength up, I'm making sure I'm long tossing. It becomes a job once you go from high school to college. And it's not a job per se to where the player is getting paid, right? Which might be happening soon, nationwide, with the whole likeness thing. But like you said, the coaches are on the hook. And I've seen it time and time again. I mean, I've seen guys make it to 3 World Series, in a row and not come home with a title. And the next year he's kicking a can down the road looking for a job. So for them to understand the arena, and now I mean parents and players to understand the arena of once you move to that next level, you're talking about putting food on the table. And when you start to bring that into the conversation, it's a different realm. It's no longer a fun only sport. You get to that time period where the game should be fun, but it should be fun because you're making it fun, not because you just expect it to be that way. And so I think for players and parents to really understand that aspect of, okay, well, if I'm going to look anywhere, it needs to be in the mirror, not in the coach's offices of why I'm not playing. Because at that point, you're there. So there is something there. So to that point, it's okay, well, coach so and so, hasn't really worked with me on this, right? Well, has he talked to you about it? Because sometimes you might get, a week full of drills and then a conversation, and then it's up to you to make those changes. It's up to you to make those adjustments, to put in the extra work, get there for early work, maybe stay a little bit after and get some more reps in. And that's how you differentiate yourself.
Do you ever, this might be like a random question, but I know like now specifically with social media, everyone's blessed to receive an offer. Everybody's this, that, and the other. Let me show you all the gear I got. Um, I will say, like, when you guys show your stuff, I think you guys have like awesome uniforms. You guys have a wide selection of uniforms that you guys wear. Do you guys ever get people that show up because they're there for what you guys provide, like materialistic, but they really don't want to be a part of it? They just want to have 4 sets of hats and 5 different jersey tops and wear yellow baseball pants with stirrups, and I get to be a part of it, but I really don't want to commit to being the best baseball player. Do you find that a lot?
I wouldn't say a lot, and I would say it happens more at our regional levels than it does our national levels. Because most of those guys, they're 100% bought in on that national American level. The regional guys, I think we are a good kind of teeter point, so to speak. They have good feelings. They're like, man, I think I want to do this. And then we kind of show him or them what is expected, or what they need to bring to the table to make this happen. And then some of them are like, whoa, 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 wait a second, like I don't know if I'm about this. Like some of them is just more important to hang out with friends, and that's all good. Yeah, I got quarrels or qualms with you whatsoever. But just understand, if you're stepping into our inner circle, right, and you're going to wear our jersey, that you have aspirations and you have a want to and a drive to try to continue to push yourself to the next level. Now, is it going to happen all the time? No, but it's good enough for me, and I think I can speak for everybody else in our organization, is regardless of whether you get there or not, do you put in the effort? Do you have the intent? And at the end of the day, that checks the box enough for us.
So you and I were talking before we started to record about like misconceptions of the recruitment process. And I feel like college baseball has definitely made a surge in popularity again through social media. I can turn on the TV now and I have the SEC network and I can watch Vanderbilt, I can watch Florida. I can watch more college baseball than when I was growing up, to where the only time you saw it was College World Series time on CBS, you know.
Right.
Um, Even your smaller D1s are getting a lot of exposure. And we talked about how kids get caught up in that. I want to play Division One. Want to play Division One, and I'm closing doors that haven't even been opened yet. And I think I could play there. But before you could even play there, I would always tell my kids, like, can you even be admitted into the school there? Like,
Right.
it's a private institution. So before you even start talking about an offer that hasn't even happened yet, you may want to go there, but until there's an offer, that's all it is a want. But then you have to go on the first side of it is, do you even have the GPA to even get in? And like, what, in your experience, where do parents and players lack in the recruitment process that you've seen that
Right.
steers them in a bad path?
I think you started the conversation exactly with what I'm thinking, and it's just that, obviously baseball is the foreground and academics is the background for most of them. Now, I would probably say that most parents think a little bit reversed, because they have a little bit more life experience and they understand it's not going to last forever. Um, but at the end of the day, it's the kid's decision. Now, his parents can have a very strong role in his life and, really try to advise him well. But at the end of the day, the kid has got to make the decision on where he wants to go and what he wants to do with himself. So, to that fact, I think the process has become a little heavily reversed as far as the order of operations. And I think that's what you alluded to just now is, okay, well, it's great that you're looking at all these ACC and SEC schools, because they have these TV deals, and you can flip on the TV and you can watch an Ole Miss Mississippi State game on a Friday night. Um, but one, can you even get into the school? Okay. Two, if you can get into the school, what do you want to study? Do you know what kind of path you want to take academically? And most kids at that point really don't. But you have an area of things that you might be interested in, even though you might not have something pinpointed down yet. Do they even offer something remotely close to that? Right? Because, like I referenced to before we started, you know, somebody's going to take the cleats off your feet eventually. Very few people get to take them off themselves and say, you know what, I'm done with baseball. It's been a great run. It's time to hang them up. Most of the time, they're getting yanked off, and it's going to happen to everybody, and sooner rather than later for most. Right? There's a very small number that get to, play this game for a living for, 10, 12, 15 years. So, to that fact, I would say do a little bit more due diligence on the schools. Start with what you want to do outside of baseball and start from there. And then find, okay, well, wait a second. That took away, these two D1 schools in the ACC and those two D1 schools in the SEC. But guess what? It opened up some smaller division schools, some lower level D1s, even some D2s. Because, kind of rolling into the next fact, is, do you want to go there because they have great jerseys and they have TV deals and they have all these first rounders? Or do you want to go there because you think you can play? Because a lot of kids come into that conversation in the former, and very few come in at the latter. And it's a hard conversation that we have to have with some kids. It's like, it's great. You did get an offer from NC State. You got a 25% offer from NC State, but you're a shortstop. They've got a shortstop at the sophomore level. They've got one that's starting right now at the junior level. He might get nabbed this year in the draft. He might not. He's kind of a borderline guy. So you got two guys in front of you that you're going to have to compete with and probably get redshirted your freshman year, or can you maybe take it down a level and say, okay, I want to go to Charlotte instead, and then all of a sudden, maybe you don't get a lot of playing time your freshman year, but you're in the conversation, you're battling. And so can you go to a school? Can you get in, like you referenced, GPA test scores? Do you even qualify? Do they offer anything that you're interested in? And then we go to baseball and we say, okay, can I play there? Can I legitimately play there? And that's a tough conversation for a 16 or 17-year-old to have with themselves. And that's a lot of maturity at that level. And I think that's why it's important that you surround yourself with good people who have, solid heads on their shoulders, because that is a big decision. And there's not many 16 or 17-year-olds who have a maturity level to make that decision as an informed one.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say too, I think another piece to that is understanding opportunity, understanding like I'm there to go to school and play baseball, which you said. And I know my mindset was I'm here to play baseball and go to school, and baseball is going to be there forever until baseball is gone. And what I try to talk to families and kids about, and hopefully you have parents that have some sort of voice, but I think some kids also get caught up into, I just want the name of the school. And as we all know, baseball scholarships are very few and far in between. So it's very uncommon that you're going to get everything paid for. So you're going to be paying for something. So I always try to talk to parents and players about, what other scholarships are there? Are they giving you grants? What money are you receiving that you don't have to worry about paying back? And in the moment, I'm not worried about that. I'm just trying to go play baseball and live my life. But eventually, you're going to have to pay money back. So, along with pursuing a baseball career and trying to pursue an education, what's my best opportunity to receive the opportunity to play college baseball, receive my education, but not be in a bunch of debt when I leave? Because
Right.
as we all know, even if you get that opportunity to play pro baseball, if you're not a high pick, you're scraping by.
Oh yeah.
So you're not having that money to be like, I could pay off student loan debt. That's fine. So again, like you said, like it's a very mature conversation, and one that most 16, 17-year-olds probably can't wrap their head around. But I think one that needs to be like laid out that, eventually you're going to have to pay money back. It's not just you were there for 3 years and had a great time. So,
Right. Right. And I think I was the same way. I was just like you were. I went there to play baseball, and school was second. Um, and I did get some grant money here and there, but I mean, going back to pro ball and having to, pay those back, you tend to grow up pretty quickly, when you're on your own. Minor leagues, you're not making much money. You're scraping by just to try to, make sure that you're eating semi good so that you can, kind of continue to fuel your body the proper way. And it becomes a big grow up moment. And I think even if they can't grasp the concept at that young age, that 16, 17-year-old age, if the conversation can be had, if the seed can be planted to just say, listen, I wasn't thinking about this, but now this is something, because eventually, 10 years down the road, I'm going to be on my own. I'm going to have to pay bills. I'm going to have to, either pay rent or a mortgage or, whatever the case may be, and it's a good conversation that needs to be had. And I, I find it, I find that the parents have a little bit less pull as it comes to who they believe more. I think I can say the exact same thing verbatim that a mom or dad says to his kid, and I think I get more intent from the kid at what I'm saying. And I grew up the same way. I was 16, my dad didn't know a thing. And now I'll be 32 this year, and my dad's one of the smartest people I've ever known. And it's just they have more experience, and they're saying these things for a reason. It's not just because you wanted to go out last Friday night and they said no, and now they're holding it against you because you got mad. They care about you, and they're telling you these things for a reason, because they care and they love you, and they want to see you make the best possible choices moving forward to set yourself up for success, not just in baseball, but in life, so that you can maybe avoid some of the mistakes that they made. I've got a 3-year-old right now, and I'm already teaching her things that I messed up on, and that's kind of what it's all about. It's just making sure, and that's all parents want for their kids, is to have a successful life and to not make the same mistakes that they made.
Do you think when kids go on recruiting visits, they get so caught up in the moment? We've talked about this with former college coaches and guys that are currently playing college, but they've transferred. One of the big things is you can't be mad if I didn't ask the question. So when I show up in the fall and I was recruited to play outfield, but I show up and there's 8 other guys, well, you didn't tell me that. Well, you didn't also ask that question.
Right.
Do you think so many kids and parents get caught up in the recruitment visit with going to the football game if they go during the fall, and the stadium, and again, here, have a hat, have a jacket? You get caught up in all of that, you forget to get down to the actual questioning part of how many guys do you have returning, where do you actually foresee me playing? Like, as much as you're on an interview and they're there to get a feel for you, you're also there to interview them and get a feel for them as a coaching staff. And are you telling me the truth? And is there really an opportunity, or are you just trying to stack recruits because some guys are going to get drafted, some guys are going to opt out? Um, when you advise kids on their recruitment trips, like, what questions or how do you guide them of what should you be asking, and what should you be looking for on your visit?
Right. No, I think you hit a bunch of the nails on the head there. It's an interview both ways. It's not just for you to come to the campus and be awed by the gear and by the facilities and stuff like that. And that's great, because it does matter. You go to a place that has really nice facilities, it's attracting. You want to be able to train in a state of the art weight room and have a practice facility, second to none. But excuse me, do you have the ability to kind of take the situation for face value and kind of let the sparkly and shiny things be what they are, enjoy them? I'm not saying you can't have fun and kind of, revel in the fact that you're on a recruitment visit at a great school with great facilities, and stuff like that. But like you said, it's an interview both ways. So how many kids are you bringing in this year? What's the class size look like? How many of those guys are the same position you foresee me playing when I get here? How many do you already have? And stuff of that nature, to where you're really in a position to where maybe if it's a phone call or if it's this or if it's that, you're just happy to be on the phone call and you're like, hey, coach, thanks for talking to me. Thanks for reaching out for, thanks for offering me that 35% scholarship, whatever the case may be. And I think a lot of them at that point are just happy to be on the phone call, or just happy to be there. And it's a scenario to where, okay, this is a business interview. It's very informal, obviously. It's like no other business interview ever conducted. But at the same time, there's information that you need to walk away from with. It doesn't just need to be, okay, well, I walked away with 2 t-shirts, a pair of shorts, and 2 hats. It needs to be, okay, well, how many players does he see coming back? How many guys do you think aren't going to get drafted, are going to come back for their senior year? Because at the end of the day, I got a senior who plays second base and I got a freshman that plays second base, and they're pretty much the same offensively and defensively. I'm going with the senior, right? And I'm not saying that should, deter kids from saying yes and accepting an offer and signing a letter. But maybe that's something to think about, because maybe if there's one more second baseman in the sophomore class or the junior class, maybe it does deter you from going there. Because maybe you say, you know what, I would rather play and compete and help a team win than kind of just sit back and watch it all happen. And so I think to that point, it's a business meeting. It's not a come show me all the fancy things and just let me enjoy it for a second. And I think that again, that is another mature conversation and a mature thought process that either needs to come from parents or coaches or a combined effort of that, from the coach to the parent to the player.
Mhm. Is it a fair, or I mean, obviously, again, you guys, your national teams, you have some high profile guys, and if you're going to ask a school, how many guys are you bringing in, how many guys are returning, and they give you an honest answer, if they in turn ask, what's the odds of you signing when you get drafted? What round was that going to have to be in for you to pull the trigger to sign that contract? Or if a school asks you, well, besides my offer, how many other offers do you have? Um, how do you instruct kids to answer those questions? Because I feel like when you're put on the spot, they're almost giving you in a way of like, I want to see like what you're going to choose. Is it
Right.
even worth my time to carry on this conversation, or like where is your mindset? And I feel like depending on how you answer that, or maybe if mom or dad are there and they step in and they answer that the wrong way, it leaves a bad taste in the mouth and it kind of shuts down an opportunity if there was one. So how would you answer that question about signing or even just other offers from other schools?
Well, first, leading up to that, it's a great point. Be prepared for that question. Don't think that it's just going to be a one-way interview to where, coach comes and sits down, or, it's after a tournament or something like that, and he sits down, you guys go grab a bite to eat, and be prepared for the questions to come back. Not only have questions prepared, but be prepared for that question of, okay, well, what is it going to take? How are you feeling about this? You're also a draft guy. What's it going to take for you to go there? And I think pure honesty is the only way to go. Just be completely transparent on everything. And I think 9 times out of 10, the guy sitting across the table will respect that, regardless of whether it changes his opinion or not, whether they rescind the offer or, whatever the case may be. But I think it's be prepared for that question because it's coming, especially with the high profile guys. Is this enough? Do you have offers? Where do we rank in your top five, so to speak? Saying that you have 5 offers, where do we rank in that? Because maybe if you're transparent, and they say, okay, well, you're my fifth school. Okay, well, maybe you're going to help them out. Maybe they're going to pull that offer, and there's another guy that was right behind you that they liked just a little bit less, but maybe now they have the ability to give that to him. So I think as far as it goes to burning bridges and being transparent with coaches, just be honest. Just tell them like it is. It can just be, matter of fact. Listen, I've got 3 offers. You guys are my second choice, and just go from there. And whatever happens, happens. But at the end of the day, you can say that you just laid it all on the table. Here are my cards. I'll show you mine. You show me yours, type of deal, and just continue to move on with the conversation from there.
Why with I mean, you can go to MLB.com and look up minor league guys, pro roster, 25-man roster guys, and you could see that there's a handful, if not more, guys that played outside of Division One baseball that have made a pro career or at least have had that opportunity to sign a minor league contract. Why do you think there's still that mindset of if I want to play professional baseball, I have to sign to play Division One? Like, why is that still looming if you can easily see that that's not the case? If you could play at any level and your skill set transitions to the next level and a scout sees that, that opportunity is going to present itself.
Right. No, I think it's because, well, one, I think a big part is the social media, and you see these, some of these top tier SEC, ACC schools, they got 50, 60,000 followers on Instagram or Twitter, whatever the case may be. And it's just so prevalent. It's just so in the face all the time that I think a lot of kids get that D1 or bust mindset. And it's just not the case. It just isn't. I mean, maybe there will be more scouts present, but at the end of the day, especially early on, they're not there to see you. They're there to see somebody else. And a lot of the times that's how kids get stumbled upon. So to that fact, kind of flipping to the other side, I went to go see Johnny, and then Jimmy had a heck of a game. And all of a sudden I've kind of got a little light bulb popped on about Jimmy over there. But the fact of the matter is like you said, if your skill set plays and your drive is there and you continue to elevate your game and continue to find ways to get better, they'll find you. They don't have any problems finding you. Okay, and that can be Division 2, Division 3 level, JUCO even. I mean, I think I played my first year in pro ball. There was like 5 JUCO kids on our team. So I think that the issue is that top tier ACC, top tier SEC, it's just sexy, right?
Mhm.
And they're like, oh man, this looks really good. I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna do this because this is gonna
Mhm.
get me to the next level. And I mean, the fact of the matter is, you can go to a D2, school in the hills of North Carolina, and work your tail off for 4 years. And if your skill set plays, and you answer questions the right way about your mindset and how you view the game, it's going to happen. They will find you.
Yeah.
Especially with baseball and the collegiate summer leagues and stuff like that, and how heavily scouted they are. You're going to get stumbled upon. Now, I'm not
Yeah.
saying that everybody out there who deserves a chance is going to get one. It doesn't work
Mhm.
that way. And even at the next level, if you do get signed to pro ball, I played with numerous guys that I've either seen play and got to the big leagues, and I'm like, we were just as good as each other. Or I've seen guys like, man, that dude is a stud, and he never comes close.
Mhm.
And so the game is not fair, and nor will it ever be. Whether you go from opportunities to actually physical stats and what you think you deserve or what you have worked for, it's not going to happen just because you worked for it.
Mhm.
There's still some earning to do with that. And baseball is just a failing game,
Yeah.
all the way down the line.
So to kind of wrap it up, because we're approaching an hour. I mean, I could carry on this conversation for hours on end because
Yeah.
I love talking about it. Um, what my last 3 questions for you is biggest misconception of showcase baseball, biggest misconception of college, and when you had that professional experience, what's the biggest misconception that you've seen in pro baseball?
So I would say probably starting at the showcase level, it's the ability for kids to get into that realm and say, I can play with these random 10 guys that I might know of a little bit because maybe they're close to me, they go to a rival high school, whatnot. But I can play with these guys and we can be successful. I think that a lot of the times that you start to get into your middle to upper tiers of showcase baseball and travel baseball, and it's like, man, these guys are just out there to get theirs. It's an individual thing, and it's really not, because the fact of the matter is if you want to play at the next level, it's going to happen again. You're going to walk on campus. There's going to be 34 or 32 other guys that you probably have never met in your life, but you're going to have to find a way to meld in and mix into the culture and figure out a way to become a part of and not stand alone. And I think that kind of segues nicely into the next level is, you know, you're going to be a kid who's going to walk on campus, and it needs to be a what can I do for you, not what can you do for me. The mindset of, can I find a way to keep my head down, say yes, sir, do what is asked, and do it well. And then at the end of maybe 1 year, year and a half, I can look up, and now there's some more conversations because there's some respect there. I came in, I didn't try to butt heads, I didn't try to stir the pot, so to speak. I came in, I worked my butt off, I kept my head down, I kept my mouth shut, and I did what was asked. And I think a lot of the times that right there, it checks the box of respect and trust and loyalty from a coaching aspect, looking at their players. You start to see that, and then you start to see players turn the corner because now they feel like they have that support system from everybody. But that's earned. You don't walk in the door with that. Regardless of what you were coming in, maybe you're the second best first baseman, power hitting left-handed hitter in your state. It means nothing when you get there. You got to find a way to meld in and fit into the culture of wherever you go. And then kind of bringing it back full circle to the AAA or to minor leagues, it's really trying to find a way to hold on to that team aspect. Even if it's not prevalent or real throughout the clubhouse, hold on to that mindset mentally, because I've seen a lot of guys, that's something to lean on, to have that collective in college baseball, to where you can lean on other players, whether you're in a slump, not throwing well, you're booting ground balls all over the place, whatever the case may be. Find guys who you can kind of combine with, even though he's trying to be the best that he can be so that he can move up to the next level. I'm trying to do the same thing. He's trying to do the same thing. And we might play different positions, but find some guys that you can kind of stick with that can hold on to that college mentality like it was when you were in college. Man, this is all for one type of deal, even though it's not. It is an individual team sport at that stage in the game. And then once you make it up high enough levels, you start to get back to AA, and you start to see it become more prevalent again. You start to see the guys in the clubhouse know, hey, listen, we need to come together as a team. And then you kind of get back to that college feel a little bit, because at that point, you're one injury, you're one bad slump away from getting a phone call and potentially, hopping up and getting your pro debut. So I think probably the biggest misconception is that you go from college to pros, and it's like, I'm just going to kind of hop up to a higher level of where I'm at right now. It's a higher level, but the arena is different. The atmosphere is different, and how you are treated, from coaches to coordinators to player development guys, it's more business-like and it's more individual. Okay, what are you doing to help yourself? But if we can hold on to, can I find a way to help the team? Because at the end of the day, if you're a guy who can help a team, it means you're doing things right. So if you can hold on to that team aspect just a little bit mentally, even though it's not there present in the clubhouse or in the arena of the field, I think it helps guys continue to want to build and do this, as opposed to kind of being like, man, I'm just kind of here on my own. I'm kind of lost. I don't know what's going on.
Cody, I mean, I really thank you for your time. I thank you for Coach Petty responding to my initial email to set this up. You could tell that you have a wealth of knowledge, and I'm sure any kid that plays in your guys' program that buys into it and really opens their mind and ears and eyes can benefit 100% of what information you guys have from all your experiences. So I thank you for your time this morning, and hopefully we could do it again sometime.
Absolutely, Ray. I really appreciate you having me, man.
All right. Take care.